When you're first getting involved with a new potential buyer or seller, before you've really been able to do the due diligence or anything like that, are there KPIs you look for and other indicators that basically set off your spidey sense like, hey, I should probably have somebody look at this?
Yeah, so I'll tell you that most of them are on the financial side. So we think about, what does revenue retention look like? Are we able to track gross margin by customer? What's the LTV to customer acquisition cost? Stuff like that. Those metrics we will benchmark companies against. What's your gross margin? If you're a SaaS company and your gross margin is 55%, well, why is that? Because that's really bad if you're a SaaS company. We'll track a lot of those, and a lot of times those can help identify operational issues within the organization. So it could be that your margins are down because your development guys are busy helping customers make their product work. That could be a reason. Okay, so that identifies a problem. If you're sort of out of the bounds of normalcy on any of these metrics that people track for SaaS companies, or even gross margin is something that we look at and we try and compare you against your peers. If it's extra high, why is that? If it's extra low, why is that? How much are you spending? Here's another one. How much are you spending on R&D? So when we look at a company's financial statements, if they're not spending 20 to 30% on R&D, are they maintaining their product? If their R&D spend is 10%, okay, well, who is making sure that your product is up to date? Who is working on the next generation of the product that's going to keep you ahead of the competition? So that's something that you look at it from a financial perspective. R&D is a percentage of revenue. And if it falls below what we know to be kind of normal, it raises a red flag.
I think we're kind of coming back a little bit. A lot of what we've been describing in terms of how to be successful, at least from a technology strategy perspective, I think what you're describing, which is great, is that these are not distinct concepts. If your tech strategy is off, your financials are going to show it.
Yes.
And there's only so much blurring you can do between them. I see this a lot. I'm curious. I think there are a lot of executives sort of think this piece will just sort of figure itself out. Engineering will get it. And you don't realize that it's part of the same machine. You have to be thinking about it the same way.
That's exactly right. I think it's important for the strategy of an organization to be communicated through IT. I think people need to be aligned. The knock that we hear, and I'm not a tech guy, but the thing that we hear is that IT doesn't want to do new projects. IT wants to just focus on what they're focusing on, and the thought of bringing something new makes their brain hurt. If that's the case, and they're unaware of the vision of the organization is to bring in something new, and it's really important that our team be pumped up to make it all work and create, you may have organizational issues that you need to address.
It makes a lot of sense. The other thing I was going to say is I think a lot of what you talked about in terms of what are we actually saying needs to be working correctly is data.
Yeah.
Right. At the end of the day, what makes your old tech work or your new tech work and them work together? It's how data is being processed and flowing between them.
Yes, 100%.
We said this is hidden chasm, and I say it shouldn't be hidden, but why is it hidden? Why aren't people looking at it? Why do we like to battle symptoms so often and not spend time looking at the underlying causes and see the connections between these things?
At big organizations in particular, they may not know at the senior management level that the pipes are held together by duct tape.
Just frightening.
Right.
It is frightening. And you would think that they should know, but you need a cohesive organization where you've got good lines of communication between senior management down to the systems guys who are holding everything together. And they need to feel at the lower levels empowered to say something's breaking or something's bending and we need to focus on this. And a junior guy needs to raise their hand because a lot of times stuff ages and there's more modern things, but a lot of times it's not as simple as that. And if you've got good communication up and down an organization, there's no repercussions to identifying a problem.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
What would you advise a CEO who's basically finding that they have all of these issues? And if you were in that position and you're looking around and you're going, we probably need to talk before we put out a letter or anything like that, or put you on the market. What do you advise in those situations?
I would advise that either internally or externally, they have somebody who can understand at depth what the issues are and understand what needs to be done to mitigate the issues and what that's going to cost. And then you have a choice. I am going to present to a buyer, I will tell them up front what the issues are. And I will tell them up front what our roadmap is to mitigate those issues. And I will full disclosure on it. And there may be an impact on valuation, but that impact won't be something that happens post LOI, because I want to provide as much information as possible before I enter an exclusivity period with somebody. So when I
Right.
still have all the momentum, or when I still have all the leverage, I've got 5 buyers who are interested in me. I'm going to let them know what my tech issues are, what needs to be addressed, what my plan is to do it, how much it's going to cost. They're going to know that when they bid. That way, you can, full disclosure, you're still in a competitive process, bid with that knowledge, but also bid to win.
Right.
Right? So that's one way. If you wait until you get into under exclusivity, the buyer's got all the leverage at that point. And if you haven't disclosed an issue, you are going to get hammered. So you'd rather disclose when you have all the leverage. Sorry, so that's one route. The other route is to just address it.
Yeah.
Identify it, quantify it, address it, and implement a plan. And you don't necessarily have to be all the way through your plan, potentially, but at least you need to be starting on it and making some progress on it so that people can feel good about the fact that this area of risk is something that I don't have to worry about.
Yeah, I'd imagine the story of how this is going to be resolved is almost more important than having completed.
The failure to disclose, or the disclosure route, always reminds me of the Tom Hanks film, The Money Pit.
Yeah.
Well, we have covered a lot of ground. Thank you so much, Alan. This has been, I think, one of the more interesting conversations, and I think a lot of people are going to be fascinated to listen to this. I want to give you the opportunity here. If there's anything you'd like to plug or anything you'd like people to know about, please go ahead.
Yes, I will tell you that if you are an emerging growth technology company that is sort of scaling towards 10 and is growing and has a pathway to profitability, and you're thinking about your exit options, we are here to help. We want to get involved with companies early. If you're a year out from transacting or more, that's better. We like to invest in relationships and invest in companies that we think we've got an opportunity to do business with, and it doesn't cost you anything. So reach out.
And how would they reach out?
You can reach out on LinkedIn, or my email is alan.bourne@fairmountpartners.com.
Very cool. Well, thank you again. And you've been listening to The Hidden Chasm. Join us next time.
Thank you, Alan.
Thanks, guys.